Not a single thoroughfare has witnessed more dauntless courage, heartbreak, or romance than the Gold Road of California. For this was the highway of high adventure, the path of the 49ers. The Gold wasn't a road, it was a term. It was the American River tumbling through the gorges of the Sierras, offering golden treasures in one spot, snuffing out lives in another. It was the giant redwood, the olden things in the world, guarding the entrance to the Mariposa Forest, a reminder to those of the first great migration in American history. The Gold Road was made of the huge strata of glistening quartz like this, offering fortunes to the first men who would swing a pick to the end of the rainbow. And when the gold was gone, they left to seek newer, richer fields, leaving in their wake the ghost towns of the Gold Road. The Gold Road led through such towns as Big Oak Flat, which had many blacksmith shops around the prices were. Big Oak Flat also boasted a relay depot for the famed Wells Fargo Express. Almost every stream had great water wheels along the shoreline to feed the sluice boxes of the miners. Some of these wheels are still standing as reminders of the past. The eternal silence of the virgin forest high in the Sierra Nevadas was broken by the noisy woodsmen chopping trees to be used as shoring timbers for the mines and for the towns and cities which sprang up in isolated creeks and canyons. The Gold Road was a raw, direct way of life. For instance, an alleged horse thief was taken from this cell and hanged. Later, it was discovered that someone else had stolen the horse, and the unlucky victim's grave was decorated with the epitaph, "By mistake, the joke's on us." It was here, too, that a minister prevented the lynching of at least one innocent person who was suspected of trying to set the town on fire. The parson proved that the man was only trying to light his pipe. It was the untamed boon town of Rough and Ready. This was run by one man who would greet the stagecoach, register the guests, distribute the mail, pour the drinks, and deal the cards. A toll was charged from this very house upon every man, woman, and child for the privilege of passing through the town. When the United States Marshal challenged their authority, the citizens threatened to secede from the Auburn state of Rough and Ready. The now quiet village of Placerville was once the liveliest and wildest town along the Gold Road and bore the name of Hangtown. Bands of outlaws virtually took over, almost outnumbering the lawful citizens. This sawed-off shotgun was carried by the stagecoach guards on the Hangtown to Virginia City run, and these notches on its handle are proof that it was used many times to protect the gold shipments. Finally, every townsman went armed with a six-gun. Lynchings became a daily routine, and thus Hangtown got its name. But the Gold Road saw activities other than lynchings and floggings, panning and sluicing. It saw John M. Studebaker, one of the early settlers of Hangtown, start a fortune by making a wheelbarrow. This is the original of many wheelbarrows which Studebaker built for the miners. During his stay in Hangtown, he stuck to his trade instead of mining for gold. The money he made from building wheelbarrows later enabled him to open his wagon and buggy factory at South Bend, Indiana. With the same foresight that Studebaker showed when he opened his little wheelbarrow shop, he later saw the possibilities of the horseless carriage and began the manufacture of the automobile, which still bears his name. In 1851, 2 years after the first gold strike on the Yuba River, More than 10,000 miners were working and living in an area less than 3 miles square. This amazing growth was due to rich surface deposits. Gold was everywhere. The miners were so ruthless in their search that even the streets of Nevada City were torn up. One prospector tried to stake the main street as his claim. As the wealth of Nevada City increased, the tents and cabins which housed the miners were replaced by large and important-looking houses. This amazing transformation was paid for by gold from these mines, which extended in every direction. Since many of these gold rush homes were built by men of little culture, they followed no architectural pattern and only rivaled each other in their size. Often a man would enlarge his home by building another close by and connecting it by means of a balcony or a stairway. Although most of these homes are in ruins today, their windows once were draped with fine curtains, and they were ablaze with light, while outside and the rumble of wagon wheels as an endless train of hopeful settlers moved westward. In 1859, history was made in this office. Assayers examined a piece of ore which marked the discovery of the fabulous Comstock lode, one of the world's greatest gold strikes. Many houses in Nevada City were built of stone or adobe with heavy iron doors to protect them from fire. It was thought that stone and iron would make the buildings fireproof until 3 men made the mistake of staying indoors during a blaze. When the fire had burned itself out, it was discovered the brick walls and iron door had made a perfect oven, and the men had been roasted alive. North San Juan was founded by a Dutchman, given a Spanish name, and settled largely by Germans and Irish. These few scattered buildings scarcely suggest that this city once boasted a population of 20,000 people. In this old firehouse is an ancient hose cart. On the day it arrived, a holiday was declared, and several thousand people joined in the celebration. To the proud miners, garlanded with flowers and carried through the streets of the town. Here, as in the other towns of this area, architecture was ornate and expensive. Hand-wrought iron railings were used extensively. One of the earliest mining camps was the nearby city of Auburn. After the first gold strikes in 1848, hordes of miners and adventurers poured into the camp, and a city of 15,000 sprang up. In an election of 1850, Auburn became the seat of Sutter County. 5 roads led into Auburn, and they all ended at Main Street. There, in the saloons, such as the Union Bar, the stage drivers, mule skinners, and teamsters stopped to wash the trail dust from their throats. Not far from Auburn is the Bailey House of Pilot Hill. Alexander Bailey spent a fortune to make it one of the finest hotels in the West, and it became the showplace of the district. Strangely enough, Jackass Hill was probably the cultural center of California. Lived Billy Gillis, of Truthful James, and Bret Hart's famous story, Tennessee's Partner. Where the Gold Road twisted and turned along mountainous crests, there occurred the greatest single tragedy of that era. High on Donner Pass is this monument where 44 out of 85 members of the Donner Party perished from cold and hunger, while the survivors huddled together in crude cabins built on the flat. When the spring thaws released the snowbound prisoners, the nation was shocked to hear of their fate. But countless thousands of other hopefuls immediately set out to follow the same trail because it led to California's gold. So, Donner Pass, Tahoe, and Donner Lake, with its shimmering jewel-like beauty, took their place along with the remains and ruins of the mining camps, ghost towns of the Gold Road.